Hello, everybody. This is an episode about adversity. We had a light blowout, very expensive light, and but that's okay because you know why that's okay. Actually, I'm gonna tell you why. It's because you clicked on that link, you clicked on the thumbnail, and you joined this video, and that makes up for everything. Now, if I can get 946 of you to watch this video, it'll be even more worth it. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Take It From Us. I am your host, Noah Wilburn. And in front of me, I am sitting next to the sauce. Let me tell you why it's the sauce, okay? He's the sauce, right? He's got a delicious restaurant. Now, the restaurant itself is not delicious, but what they produce, the product, the food, incredible. And I gotta say, I think I see you at every single event. I think you guys cater every single event that I ever.
Are you trying to be there?
Yeah, like
we're catering the diplomat event, the Chamber Diplomat on Thursday, and then I think I have a catering tomorrow as well. So we're getting out there.
Yeah, I'm saying y'all lock down those catering jobs.
Yeah.
But not only that, man. You know, and obviously the guy, because you already saw him because he was talking. His name's Sun. Sun, how do you say your last? Sun Hai Vo.
Sun Hai is my middle name. Vo is my last name.
Okay, because you're Vietnamese,
yeah.
Right? Yeah. So Sun Hai Vo. Hi, Sun.
Hi. Hello.
So, Sun, I mean, you got quite the background, bro. Because like you were a realtor at Berkshire Hathaway, and then you moved to KW.
Yeah.
Not surprising. Everybody moves to KW eventually.
Yeah, it's honestly a great community they've built there. So.
Yeah, and it's only getting better, which is crazy.
Yeah, it really is.
Shameless plug. You know, and then so you did real estate on the side. You got Swamp Boil, right? I mean, what? And then 161, which is absolutely. I mean, y'all are killing it over there. Yeah. And for those of you that don't know, 161 is a national venture capital firm. And they invest in a lot of different small businesses, startups. Yes. And they are just growing every day. They got a great event coming this Thursday.
Innovation Summit on Thursday,
October 5th. So by the time you see this, it'll have already passed. But so, Son, you got your hands on a lot of different things, right? I mean, what, who, like, why?
Yeah. I mean, overall, like I would call myself a serial entrepreneur. I came from a very entrepreneurial family, and that journey for me kind of started back in college, where I was supposed to be. I was pre-pharmacy biology, supposed to be a pharmacist, like any good Asian boy should be.
Okay.
And then, but then I worked at the student healthcare pharmacy at UF, and I just, it wasn't for me. Like I was the receptionist, but I saw the day in, day out was just like kind of counting pills, dealing with insurance, and I was like, that's.
Was it just boring?
It was just boring, but like my whole goal through medicine was to help people and just like, help lives and things like that. And I know that was a good avenue to do it, but I don't think that was my avenue, right? My kind of skills are dealing with people. I love problem solving, and I feel like entrepreneurship is kind of exactly that. It's finding niches and opportunities to solve problems and kind of make the world a better place. So I kind of found that, after I joined the entrepreneurship club when I was at University of Florida, I fell in love with it. We had speakers come in, the things that we talked about, it was just like an innovative way of thinking, and then just the conversations just kind of sprouted from there. And then eventually I started, my first companies. They were in tech, and I just fell in love with the whole process of it. Real estate just kind of fell on my lap because my family and I, we were just investing in properties here locally, and we see the opportunity as being entrepreneurs. We're like, why are we dealing with other realtors? Why don't you just get your license, and then you get the commission, and then also they'll lead for new opportunities for us to then invest and me do real estate on the side, etc.
Gotcha. You said something interesting. You said, as an entrepreneur, you're changing the world for the better, essentially. In what way do you think that you're doing just that, changing the world
absolutely
for the better?
Yeah. So I think that, big changes obviously happen every day with, new technology and everything like that. But for me, it's like the small interactions that kind of foster the big change. So for me, it's like every single interaction I go into, I try to come in with intention. And like, I believe the answer to life is love, right? So I just come in a place with love, and through all my interactions, whether it's real estate, the restaurant, the restaurant for me is like my personal why is to help people feel connection and love through a created experience. So the restaurant for me is that created experience. People come in for a meal, for a drink, but more so than that for me, this is an experience business. So people come in, whether it's, reconnected with friends, a first date, whatever it might be, but it's a coming together of people, and I want to foster those connections and kind of leave them better than they had came, right? So in me changing the world, once I get to that magnitude and that level of influence, I still think that every single interaction I go into has that power to change the world, or at least somebody's world, who then can maybe then change the world.
Francis Zipeto, business maps coach extraordinaire. He's got knowledge on how to level you up for days. Francis, thank you for supporting our platform. Yeah.
So,
Talk about like that ripple effect, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, it's all the small things that we do as humans that end up adding into that bigger vision into changing the world. You know, that big vision.
I agree.
Yeah. So let's talk about who Son was before all this. I mean, I think we got a pretty good idea of who he is now, right? I mean, loving, obviously, innovative and smart, right? But obviously, like, these things don't just like happen, right? There's a bunch of like little things that go into somebody's journey in order to produce the person that you are now. And then there's going to be a bunch of little things that happen in the moving on from this room, that are going to happen in 20 years. We're going to sit back and we're going to be like, yo. So, I mean, so how did you get here, bro? Like, what's like the background behind that?
So I'm obviously coming from an immigrant family, really hardworking and everything. So I was born in the Philippines. My parents were refugees back then. So I was born there. I was actually in an accident. And then we got deported back from the Philippines to Vietnam. And then my mom worked her butt off and then was able to get us immigrated from Vietnam. So I was born in 95. All the way up until 99 is when we immigrated to America, worked her butt off, got immigration, and then we came over to America.
You said you were in an accident? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Bro, nobody's ever in an accident. Okay. All right, let me stop you right there. Listen, audience. If you were born and you're on this earth,
you're right. It's not.
You are not an accident. Okay. Just let us sink in. Okay, continue.
I love that. But yeah, so my family and I, they lived the American dream. We came over with almost nothing, and we moved over to L.A., Los Angeles, California, on my dad's side of the family, and that was in '99. And then 2003 is when we moved over to Gainesville, Florida. Been here ever since.
What caused that switch? From Vegas? What was that?
California. Overall, like, LA is just really hectic overall, really expensive, especially for an immigrant family.
Yeah.
So the reason why Gainesville was on our radar was we had a family friend here, and he recommended it. Obviously, you have Santa Fe College here, you have like good hospitals, you have the University of Florida. So we came over here just looking for something else, I suppose, and we loved it.
What was that like? Like you said immigrant family, which already that's like, whoa, that's a not a barrier, but that's something that's a situation
for sure
that you got to deal with, right? But then you said you had nothing.
Yeah.
Right. So, and obviously at this point you're probably like 3, 4.
Yeah. I was 4 when we moved over to LA, and then I was 8 when we got to Gainesville.
Okay. So then what's like your earliest memory of your child? That's such a like common question or whatever. But what's the earliest memory?
I mean, that would be back in Vietnam, just like kind of playing with my cousins and things like that, just running around. So yeah, just things like that.
So what does that do? What does that do for you then? Like understanding and knowing that, like, were you aware of the situation that you guys are in a place that you're foreigners essentially in a place that you've never been before in Gainesville, Florida? You're starting from zero essentially. Like, what does that do to you as a kid?
Yeah. Well, the biggest thing for me as a kid was just because since coming to America, I don't think it really clicked to me. Now that you actually think it, I never thought about that. I just remember coming to the airport, seeing my dad's side of the family, and just thinking like, this is where we're gonna be now, right? I guess it didn't register that, I'm starting my entire life now in this other country.
Yeah.
It only hit me when I kind of moved to Florida because I was leaving my relatives at that point, my cousins who felt like siblings to me. And, moving to Florida, then it was just like I left the life that I knew, and I am now just kind of alone. Well, not quote unquote alone, but that loneliness for me and being an only child was, I think, what led to me being really extroverted. So I felt like alone and loneliness, and my parents had to work and everything to support us and grow the business and whatnot. And I feel like I used my extroversion at school and everything to make as many friends as I can, so that I wouldn't be alone.
So let's stop there.
Yeah,
because that's a decision. That's an internal vow.
It's an internal decision.
It's an internal vow, a decision that you made with yourself at how old?
I've always been relatively extroverted, but let's say 8.
8?
Yeah,
okay,
let's
so
say 8.
around 8 years old.
Yeah.
So there's this point at 8 years old. You're like, all right, I'm not gonna see. I was the type of kid. I had 2 families, right? And so growing up with my mom, I was actually alone, and I was not like, I'm gonna go make friends. I was like, I'm gonna sit on the computer, play the Lego club. That's how we gonna roll. But you made this decision, right, to show up wherever you went.
Yes.
And I'm gonna go make friends because I'm not gonna be a loner. Essentially, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I feel like when I do a lot of introspective kind of looking at myself, and because you're right, I also did play video games. I watched a lot of anime and all that stuff. Yeah. But at school I would always just go out there and just talk to everybody that I could and make friends with everybody I could, and that would really led to me being that kind of very extroverted person that you and all of our friends kind of know. And it was just, as I grew up, it was like more than just me not being lonely. I also didn't want other people to feel lonely as well, because me knowing what that felt like, I wanted to make sure that nobody ever felt that way if I had anything to do with it. Right. So
and that's the next step.
Yeah.
Afterward.
Correct.
When you're thinking about yourself, and then it's like, okay, then the person that's across from me.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Right.
Bro. And you're doing that at a young age.
Yeah.
Keep
right.
going.
So, I think I was like pretty self-aware for a young age, but I didn't come to these conclusions until a little bit later, until I started, journaling and kind of doing a little bit more mindful practices. But, and I think that kind of all throughout my life, just kind of gradually being extroverted, connecting with people, I gained a really kind of strong and good opinion of myself, and just kind of the validation I got back from just making a lot of friends and everything. And I believe that kind of pushed me to have the confidence to kind of pursue a lot of things and also dream a little bit bigger. And so, I've always been relatively idealistic in terms of like how much I want to help the world, entrepreneurial endeavors, just like that's why I have so many hands in different, pots and everything. It's just because like, I enjoy the process, and I enjoy connecting with people. So it's just having those opportunities to try new things, meet new people, learn as much as I can, learn more about myself. Those are the things that get me up every day. It's just like that whole process of being human and experience what it is to be like me. And then from there, it's like the altruistic aspect of like, how much can I help other people?
You said something interesting. So you said that you gained a strong, confident opinion of yourself based off of the responses you were receiving from when you
it's like
out.
Social validation. But then I also had to do like very intrinsic work on myself though. Like in I feel like my self-improvement journey really started when I was in senior in high school. Shout out to Mr. Jim Owens. It was a humanities / thinking skills class, and every single day what he made us do was journal. So we journaled for the first 5 to 10 minutes of class, and that's what I like. And there was a thing he said in class, it's like there's an art to living. And then in that class, we would just watch movies or just have conversations. He would tell us stories. That was just like, living with intention was kind of what I learned. It was just like, people would just kind of go through life on autopilot, but like, stopping to actually smell the roses, or like, looking at, the way this tree is, or it's just like the way that people make a table. It's like somebody, if you look at a table or any of these chairs or anything, there's a master in this craft somewhere. Somebody designed that table. Somebody designed this chair. Just kind of that little bit extra step of understanding. It's just like the world's really a cool place, and even if I don't like doing something, there's other people out there who like love this, So just kind of as my eyes got opened a little bit more, I just saw that there's a lot of opportunity everywhere. The world's a really cool place, if you know where to look.
Thank you to our sponsor, Elite Realty. Elite Realty is completely unmatched against the competition when it comes to their customer relations. Thank you, Elite Realty, for supporting our platform that's creating transparency around failure and helping people win all over the world. Thank you so much. Well, it sounds like he was Mr. Jim Owens. Shout out to Mr. Jim Owens. That's pretty cool.
He's a great
But
guy.
it sounds like he was teaching you to stop and observe the world around you, to look at the world not from just your your internal.
Correct.
Like the world is not you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting. So, so validation from social validation.
Yeah.
Would you consider social validation? I mean, obviously, it seemed like it worked out in your favor, but would you consider, especially as a kid, the social, like being able to build your confidence on social validation? Could you see that as being something dangerous for somebody too?
Oh, for sure. Because then, like, you will base your own self-opinion based on others' opinions, right? So that's a very lofty basis to build your self-esteem on.
So then what's the line then?
Yeah, the line, I mean, like, that is, so for everything, I think it starts with self-love. So you have to obviously understand that you love yourself, and your opinion is going to be the one that matters the most out of anybody else's opinion, right? And I found that in college is like other people's opinion of me is none of my business. You know, it's like they have their own projections, they have their own ideas of me, and that's their business. It's whatever. The whole thing with like the social proof, I think at such a young age, when I wasn't as introspective, is just like validating me to be more of me. And from that, I feel like then I was able to be my happy-go-lucky self, and etc. Until obviously later on in life, I would meet adversity or some kind, and then maybe question myself. But I guess to answer your question, where's the line of like social validation? Is like, it's a matter of like being self-aware. It's like, okay, I guess obviously society is justifying or like validating who or what I'm doing, right? But the thing is, you have to understand that, take that with a grain of salt, because you still have to form your own opinions of yourself. And if you weigh that on someone else, and then if suddenly like people don't like you, then suddenly you're a bad person, or you're worthless to society, or whatever negative idea you might have of yourself.
Right.
So it's just like, yeah, that line of like, you can't hold everything to what other people think, because then you have no basis of your own self-esteem, as your own self-identity. You really have to formulate your own.
Yeah.
So I guess though, what I'm saying is like at that young age of getting that social validation, of being friends with everybody and everything, I was able to build at least some kind of like foundation for me to then gain the confidence to understand and look inwards towards myself and find these lessons later on. Does that kind of make sense?
Well, so yeah, and what it sounds like you're saying is, there's two things. There's two parts to that answer, which is you were able to filter the responses. Because, obviously as kids are ruthless, bro.
Yeah, kids are
ruthless, bro. Okay? I got
no
stories.
filter, man.
I'm saying. Yeah. But you as a child, you were able to filter, whatever what was said, good, bad, negative, positive. You were able to filter that, and you only took what was said that was positive and that what you identified yourself with, and you use that as your foundation.
Correct.
Okay. And then the second part to that is, you understood who you were. Yeah. Essentially. Dang, man, I actually had a second part, and then I got so focused on that first part. Yeah. But anyways, something with that. Oh, that's what it was. Your identity. Your identity is not tied to what you do. Yeah. Your identity. What do you consider identity? Actually, that's like how does somebody define identity?
Okay, we can go many ways with this. So like if we're saying the ego, as in like the construct of our experiences, our memories, and things like that, because Mickey Singer, shout out to Mickey Singer, author of The Untethered Soul, he talks about how we are a culmination of all of our past experiences, right? And that is what kind of forms our identity and kind of our ego per se, right? This perception that I am son, right? But on a consciousness and spiritual level, then we identify our identity as, we're a part of God and everything like that, but I'm not going to get into all that. But in terms of like let's say my identity as son and everything, I guess that is formulated through just kind of that, like a lot of our experiences, and not only just the external experiences that we have within life, but also our mental experience, right? So like, what are these stories and ideas that we're formulating about ourselves as we're experiencing the world around us? So there's like multi layers to that. So at the end of the day, that's why people say like the words you use are very powerful and the thoughts you think are very powerful, because these are what create kind of your world, right? The way you perceive the world and the way you perceive yourself. And I think that's what creates a lot of your identity, is the reaction that you have towards the world around you.
Words create and words destroy, bro.
Yeah.
That's a I mean, in Genesis it talks about when God spoke,
right?
And the world was made. So if that is possible, and we're created in the image of God, in the image of Yahweh, then there's got to be some level of, it even talks about in James how the power of the tongue, right? So it's just like whatever you speak, you got to be careful what you speak, because it can break somebody down or build somebody up.
And it's just like, the language that we have in our heads, because like there's this thing I always tell people. It's like, like when we're so hard on ourselves, because I'm very hard on myself sometimes, and I've gotten better at this, but like sometimes the way we talk about ourselves, right, when we fail or aren't living up to our expectations, we're so hard on ourselves, right? But then like you ask yourself, would you ever talk to your best friend like this? Most of the time, no, right? But you're always so hard on yourself, and it's just like, that's not fair to yourself. Obviously we hold ourselves to high standards, but the words, even not really justified, but the intentions behind it may be good, but it's just like sometimes the words that we say to ourselves are very negative. So it's just reinforcing of positive kind of self-talk, and also how you talk to other people, obviously. But yeah, and then there's a thing I kind of said that, but yeah, learning. And after I left pharmacy, I went to the anthropology and linguistics. So we talked about this in linguistics, how like there's a theory about it all. It's just like your words can actually form your perception of reality. And then also, the whole thing was like, there's a reason why they call it incantations, right? It's just like words. And when people are doing spells and magic, right, it's like words. So it's just like, you never know, and you kind of do know, but the power behind your words, and just kind of the emotion behind it, and how much of an impact they can make on you. So yeah.
So you're growing up. So you've made this internal vow with yourself that like, all right, I'm gonna be social. I'm gonna build myself up. And my foundation is not gonna be one of confusion, anxiety. The things that plague especially kids today. Oh my
Absolutely.
goodness. Yeah. But you decided that I'm going to be social. I'm going to build other people up, and and I'm gonna do good for the world. So, obviously, when people like that exist, adversity and really, I'm a Christian, right? So I see it as the enemy, tries to break people down. So, in what ways when you were younger did the enemy attack you?
Good question. Just little hardships, I guess. I mean, I got arrested for stupid things in high school. It's like selling weed and stuff like that. It's just like, just dumb things you do in high school.
Yeah.
So things like that, and then.
Dang, son, you a criminal?
Yeah, and it's just like, just kind of recklessness, and just kind of not really, when you're young, you just think you're invincible. And with like so much good, and like, honestly, I grew up with a lot of privilege. My parents and family worked really hard, but thankfully, like I would like to think that I didn't end up pretty spoiled, but I want to be able to give back and help as many people as I can. But from that thinking and everything, it's just like I felt like I was invincible, right? Just do whatever I want, and until it's just like, when I was at spring break, we got in trouble. I wasn't even at the house, but like, the condo found out that my friend's mom wasn't actually there when they were running it out, and then the cop came, and then they smelled weed and alcohol and stuff like that. And I was like, I'm not even staying here, but I still got arrested. So.
Oh, I see. Okay. I see.
Yeah. So, and so just like kind of instances of like failures, and especially when I was in college, when I really witnessed like failures, or just like self-doubt, or just again the loneliness, that's when I started having to look inside myself again and do the work that's necessary to kind of be where I am today. Um, and that's what I really believe. I think it's just like, as humans, like, eh, I wouldn't necessarily say it's like to the weight of like, what if we're not growing, we're dying. But it's just like, I think growth and progress is what makes us really happy at the end of the day. So any of the times I have had faced with the enemy, I just see it as a opportunity to grow and better myself. Um, so I can overcome that and be
Yeah.
the person that can overcome that.
Isn't it interesting how alone are our actions that don't do sin, right? It's so funny how tempting and enticing sin is,
Yeah.
but at the end of it, once you go through it, and you got what you needed, and then how alone you feel,
Yeah.
and where sin can really bring somebody, and how that can compound over time. It's
Yeah.
crazy,
Yeah.
bro. Like I mean, I like one of my things is I see, downtown, I work here or whatever, so I see a lot of like homeless people and things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And you think about every decision that is made in sin, that person makes for themselves, and how it just compounds over time to the point where they're just on the street.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Because
And
it definitely wasn't one decision.
no,
Right.
oh no,
Yeah,
it
was
never
like,
is,
yeah, it's
bro.
never one.
It
Yeah.
never is. I mean, I would say there's that saying, the straw that broke the camel's
Yeah.
back, right? Which is one decision, but it's over time.
It's over time.
It's
Yeah.
accumulated, right? And so what it sounds like is that there have been a lot of instances in your life, things that, no, I'm not gonna say everybody goes through, but like there's things that the bad things happen to everybody,
Yeah.
right? And so there were specific bad things that happened to you. And tell me about your mindset once
Yeah.
it happens and you're on the other side of it, right?
Yeah.
And then this what Satan does, he brings guilt and shame and all these things that when you believe in Jesus, like you don't need any of that
Yeah.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
So like what happened to you once you got out on the other side of sin, essentially?
Yeah. So when it happens, like just sadness, probably depression too. I'm just like, especially like, I'm just going to use the arrest for an example, right? I'm just
Yeah,
like,
let's do
my
that.
life is over. And it's just like, dealing with the laws.
Were you sitting in the back of the cop car?
Yeah.
Oh, wow,
I mean,
okay,
no, like
yeah.
they actually didn't take us. They were just like, go home, but they wrote us up and everything like that. Like, this is a citation. Like, you have a, misdemeanor for like, at that time it was minor in possession because I was just there. And I was like, dude, I don't even live here. Like, none of this is mine. So it was just whatever. But just being in that situation, it was just like, my life is over. You kind of, especially as a kid, I was like, 16 and everything. You just see it as just like, yeah, life is over. You see like the short term kind of thing. Coming out of it, it's just like everything happens for a reason, right? I really do believe that. And it's only a loss if you don't learn, right? I think taking an L is like not a loss, it's a learning opportunity. So just coming out of that is just, that's the mindset that I'd like to think of it, just like all the negative things, like, I went through a breakup recently and it's like, I still miss her and I still love her, but it's like, I'm the one who initiated that and I miss her, but it's just like, there's a reason why we had the relationship. There's a reason why we broke up, and there's a lot to learn from that. And how am I going to go up and forward from here? So everything that I go into and everything that bad or good that I kind of experience in my life, I try to take it that just step back and just understand it's like, what can I gain from this? What can I learn? And then how do I become a better person? And then how can I understand it so that then other people may not need to make the same mistake? I just like kind of pass on that wisdom.
Yeah.
But of course, right now it's just like, I think that just self-improvement as a whole is just a lifelong journey that, won't stop until like, until we're dead. And it's just like, we're always growing, we're always learning. So any single time I kind of face adversity and things like that, I just keep on in my mind that, okay, this is here for me to grow and teach me something. So I'm all ears.
Have you ever reached a point where you were just like, nah, bro, this is just some BS, right?
Absolutely. I mean, life is unfair, right?
Yeah.
It's like, people say it's like, life is unfair. It's like, it is. Sometimes it's like bad things happen to good people, etc. It's just, sometimes that's just the way things are. And so that's why I don't really I try not to take too many things personally, because honestly, everything is very impersonal. And so from that, it's easier said than done. I'm sure there's many times where I'm just like, F this, and it's just like this sucks. But hindsight 2020, I'm just like, okay, I probably had to go through that lesson for something,
And it's interesting because I'm listening to you talk, and I realize something.
Yeah.
That there is, for somebody, there's a side of you get out of something that's bad, right? A bad situation, and then you're in this place of just like negativity, the sadness,
Yeah.
the pretty much the oppression that's like on your
for
shoulders,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
But then I feel like as somebody that's in that field, you see, or maybe you don't see, you see the other side of like what things could be.
Yeah.
And it's just like this huge gap.
Yeah.
It might even seem like a huge gap for somebody that's still in the midst of
Absolutely.
sadness.
And just feel like it's going to be forever.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And what it sounds like you do in order to deal with that type of perspective is you just ask yourself questions.
Yes.
And I'm sure when things are really bad, you probably ask them out loud verbally,
Yeah.
right?
And I journal.
Yeah,
like
of course, yes. Yeah. Journaling is a great thing.
Yeah.
Some people are audible, or
For sure. Yeah.
they
However,
listen,
however
they
you
write.
can get your thoughts out. And
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
I'm a journaler
You're
too.
journaling?
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. So, but it sounds like you ask yourself a lot of questions and you just write things down. You just get it all out. Because I think, and this is something that I want to say directly to everybody, all 20 people that are going to watch this, or 946. We're really praying for it. But this is something I want to say directly to everybody is, the gap that you might see is actually not really there. It's really just a step.
Yes.
Right? Because, ultimately your what would you call it? The place that you're in, the place that you're in, your environment, your situation in here can change like this.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. And obviously, I believe it changes because of what God's love does, to our hearts and to our people. And I definitely encourage everybody, to run to Him, run to the Lord, bro, run to the Word, see what He's got to say about it, But those questions are probing, and those questions are really good to ask. Yeah. Like, okay, what did I learn from this? Like, just really being able to step outside of yourself. Sure. I mean, that's a skill.
Yeah, it gives you perspective, and like, and you like. I love how you said it's a step, because you literally have to do like step by step by step.
Right.
Like, if you're looking at the big picture, it's like, when is this gonna be done and everything? Like when I was arrested, it was just like, how long is the trial? It's like months away. You're just living, like sitting in limbo and things like that. It's a scary place. So it's just like kind of the, understanding the macro, understanding, okay, this is the situation right now, and then the micro kind of toiling down. It's like, okay, what's this step? Okay, like, let's say in that situation, it's like, what can I learn from it? Right? And it's like, next step. Okay, what can I do for myself that makes me feel better? Maybe I can go for a walk or things like that. Taking it day by day, step by step, and kind of also not just fully distracting yourself, but make sure you're feeling these emotions as well too. So make sure you're processing them, just not repressing them. So it's a lot of culmination of different things, but it's just like taking the perspective and then dealing with it up close day by day. Take out small bites. Don't overwhelm yourself. We're human, and it's like, it's not easy. It's a simple understanding of the process, but is it easy? By no means.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it never is. And there's a song that I really like. It's called 40 Days Out by Indie Tribe. And in the middle of the song, the MC comes back on, and he's like, good sailors aren't made with calm seas.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of a storm. And then it goes back into the song. And bro, ever since I've heard that, I'm like, dang.
Yeah.
Because even with I keep bringing my faith back into the conversation, but I think it's so just prevalent for what we're talking about. But even what Jesus did on the cross and the significance of that, right? I mean, He came down to show what God is like in the flesh, right? And then He died, rose again, and was ascended to the Father's right hand. But He couldn't have done any of that without going through the crucifixion.
Yeah. And
that's one of the most painful and hard physical things
that. Yeah, dude.
Right?
I mean, Jesus went through a lot.
Yeah.
To put it smallly, but yeah, he went through so much just for all of us. And I'm not like Christian, I'm like spiritual, but I still believe that the Bible is one of the greatest stories ever told, and Jesus Christ Himself is a figure that everybody should look towards for. Is just like one, just the safety that you're talking about and just the courage as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because if somebody like that can show us so much love and go through so much adversity for us, like that's just proof that it's just like you can do it too as well. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's proof in the pudding, bro.
Yeah.
So obviously, I think we've covered, we've established who you are. We've talked about what it was like growing up. Especially as an immigrant. I mean, that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
To see where you're at now. And obviously, shout out to your parents,
Yeah,
bro,
dude, shout out
because
to my parents.
they
Yeah,
worked
they're great.
hard. Like
Yeah.
we gotta acknowledge
Yeah.
mama and dad.
For sure.
And so obviously you have some hiccups when 16, 17, 18, and throughout your whole life.
Yeah.
Whatever. But now you've come through. You've come through different situations. I mean, even now, like you're going through a breakup and everything. It's like, who are you now, bro? Like, what are the positive attributes of your, like, what do you hold on to in order to continue loving other people and, doing your best work in every hand or in every pot that you have your hand in, who are you?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because I literally journaled about this a few days ago where I did a line and it was just like, what do I want for my life, right? And I did a positive and a negative. It's like all the positive things that I want for my life, just like kind of adjectives, and then negatives too, because I want to, like, a part of it's like understanding what I don't want, right? So overall, like me right now, it's just like I still live from a place of love, and it's just there's a saying, I think it's like Native American saying, like hokahe, right? It's like today is a good day to die. I want to live every single day. It's just like, as much as I can. It's just like, if today's the day I die, it's like, dope. Okay, I'll see you guys later. Like I lived as well and as fully as I can. And that's still not to say like some days I'm just waking up groggy and like not doing anything, but I understand me as a human is just like, this is the part of the process. So right now it's just like, I want to build and create as much as I can. With Swamp Oil right now, we're going through an entire rebrand, and what's getting me really excited is the opportunity to kind of take what I built with no experience during COVID into this new concept where it's just like it's not just going to be a restaurant, it's going to also be a lifestyle brand, which is something I can elaborate on another time. But
yeah, we also need to talk about that.
Yeah,
because I never heard that one before.
Yeah.
So
we're going to like a
that.
lifestyle brand.
Yeah,
and like the whole creating experience thing for me, it's like I'm doing renovations to the place as well. And it's just like the restaurant for me originally was, a project that was handed to me, but I've taken it and I want to do so much more because I feel like there's so much more for me to do and create and build and like express to people. And I just really love the artistic side and working with artists, etc. That right now, that's kind of where my mindset is at. I want to continue building. I want to continue finding my outlets and my strength in terms of my creativity and expression. And then kind of slowly figure out the plan on how to build that from what I have as the existing business. What that looks like yet, I don't know. But I'm taking it day by day. I'm learning so much as I go. But I see this as like on the horizon, but I don't have it formulated yet.
Yeah. What parts of yourself do you see in your business?
The service. So that in terms of like being a person of service, where it's like I want to be of service to humanity and everybody around me. And it's just like one of the biggest compliments that we get within all of our reviews is the service that is given in at the restaurant. And everyone's like, as soon as I walk in there, like I feel like family, I feel like a regular. And that's kind of because like I handpick all my employees, and it's just like people have complimented. It's like, I don't know what you guys do, but it's just like everybody that you guys have here is just like so incredibly kind, so incredibly welcoming, and that's how I think everybody should be, and doesn't matter who you are, but even like I was saying earlier in our conversation, it's just how you change the world, I think, is in small little increments of every single day actions, right? So it's just if people are just coming in, having that good experience and just having that good interaction with people, that's life changing. Mm-hmm. So mm-hmm. I think I see a lot of that in my business. I'm very proud of that.
Good, man. Yeah. I'm glad. Well, man, what a combo, bro.
Yeah, man. Yeah, thanks for having me.
I
This
love
is
that.
a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is good. This is really good. I mean, I gotta say, everyone, if you stay till the end, I mean, dude, son will buy you something for free at Swamp Oil. No, I'm just like,
I'll treat you dinner or lunch, right?
But man, just understand this. that no matter where you're at, whether it's good, bad, really where it's, if you're in a bad place, okay, in a bad situation, understand this is that just take the step. Take a step,
Take
right?
a step, yep.
Whether that's journaling, whether that's reading the Bible, whether that's
Even going for a walk, taking a shower, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
God,
Smallest little things.
Please take a shower. Please.
Yeah, no, just do some kind of self-care.
Yes, indeed. It's not because it's not as far away as you might seem, and and the enemy does that, bro. The enemy tries to make this big separation and gap, but I promise it's just an illusion. And the second thing is, in every human interaction that we all have, just filter the conversation, filter what people say to you, because ultimately, people's words mean a lot, and they build and they break people. But you were created by the Creator, and ultimately there are things about you that are unique and beautiful.
Yeah.
And if you can hold on to that truth, then the words that people say, it's all gonna flow together. Yeah. Look, be encouraged, be easy, work hard, and go eat that swamp boil. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you later. Son, thanks for coming on.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.